Call the meeting. I will call the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Mid-Peninsula Water District for Thursday, May 22nd. Let's go to the opening, establishment of a quorum.
Director Covington.
Here.
Director Cotton.
Here.
Director Zuka.
Here.
Vice President Vella.
Here.
President Wheeler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
What do you do?
Love it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. Do we have anybody someone else?
None.
Yeah. But just any additions or deletions, pulled items in the consent calendar? Acknowledgement presentations, I believe there are none. Consent agenda. We have. Again, for I think we can. A second.
Director Zuka.
Sure.
Director Covington.
Yeah.
Director Cotton.
Yes.
Vice President Vella.
Yes.
President Wheeler.
Hearings and appeals, there's one on the agenda. Capital improvement programs. Consider resolution 2025-23 authorizing the task order for the district engineer. We don't have anything. Any paperwork for that?
There should be 7A looking like this. So normally Renda would give this presentation, but he is on vacation. Helping his son get married in Montana and having a lot of fun for a couple weeks doing it, so. I'll just kind of briefly go over here. So this is for the Decoven tanks replacement project, which of course we've talked quite a bit about, and you've already authorized a contract for the structural engineering services associated with this. This is a task order to cover Hawkpore Consulting's work on bringing it, basically, to the finish line. Includes everything through award, as well as some sub-consultant costs in there as well. For I'm sorry, do you remember offhand?
TJC Consultants, electrical engineer, and Haley Aldrich, which used to be spacing on the they purchased the old geotechnical company, but we need them to provide a supplemental update for because the seismic codes have changed. So
Yeah. And we're kind of in an interesting time because the seismic and building codes for this get updated periodically, and we're right on the cusp where we could use the old standards right now, or the new standards coming out like imminently, right? So we're gonna design for the new standards, because it's awful to have a project design that's immediately out of date. If there's any questions on the scope, Brandon is here to answer them.
I just have one question. I might be misremembering, but I thought last time we talked about the standards, we weren't quite sure what the final standard was going to be. Has that been finalized yet, or are we still sort of in this uncertain period with not knowing the standards?
this must have been discussed at the last board meeting.
Yeah.
So since then, well, I don't know if you want to take that kind of?
I don't know all the details to it.
Okay,
It's
so,
the ASD standard, right?
We, as the district, our discussions with Cat, Rena, and ourselves, and our structural engineer, the new code is official, it's like out for the public to see. Just came out actually within the past, I think, a week or so. And it's not official, but it becomes official January 1st.
Okay.
And so we decided that it's best to conform to the new standards that are coming out. It's kind of like it's out, but it's really officially coming out
Okay.
in January.
Yeah, so it's
Got
like a
it. But we know
comment,
what it is.
feedback period.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep, yep,
And it's unlikely to be appealed or.
it won't be.
Yeah.
Stage
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's already
I
gone
think
through
it's
all
fine.
the review.
It's final, just do it, it's a 6-month delay.
Yeah.
Effective date.
Okay.
So, question to Brandon or Kat, did anybody look at the new standard and the cost difference between like the old and the new, or it
So
don't
our-
affect us much?
Yeah, so our structural engineer anticipates that the changes will be minimal. We don't know exactly what that means yet because they haven't begun the exact process yet. Our geotechnical engineer has to get them, confirm all the updated, parameters for them to use. So we're not quite sure yet what will need to be changed, although I have heard that the changes are minimal. You got a magnitude of like 5% difference in forces that are. gonna
And the
be
cost
occurring on the tank.
associated to that will be hopefully minimal too.
Hopefully minimal.
So is this gonna come in front of us again?
I don't, there shouldn't be any more approval of contracts related to it, until we get to the actual bidding,
Right.
period, but, certainly we will be giving the
Mm.
monthly updates and progress, and if there's any surprises, any reason that we say, oh my gosh, these new standards are just so onerous, I mean, but from the cursory review from the
Yeah.
structure, we don't expect that.
And
to happen,
I'm
So,
almost certain that the geotechnical knows exactly what's
Yes.
different, and they've known for a while. Cause they keep track of these
They do.
things,
And the same is also occurring with Hallmark, because Hallmark is also going through a structural
Correct,
retrofit.
yeah.
And so ZFA is helping us with that as well. So it's happening with both tanks. And, so they're basically saying that it's, probably, it's just gonna be minimal. I don't have an exact cost,
Mhm.
and it's,
unfortunately, Director Vella, but they're not saying that it's just gonna blow the project out of the water by any means.
and it's always to the district's benefit and our customers' benefit to make sure we're designing to the best, most current standards. You don't necessarily want to over-design beyond that too much, but nobody's looking to cut any corners. or anything like that, so.
Just a quick question, because I know this started in 2021, right? And then went on pause. So we paid for an initial assessment, then it went on pause. So this is just a secondary review based on updated codes.
This is the project that we've talked about where it was fully designed and put out to bid. There were
It's
some
rough.
changes that happened with the tank companies, there were some consolidations, we only got 2 bids back, and those 2 bids with steel prices happening in COVID, in 2021, that were just significantly higher than the engineer's estimate. So the board at that time decided, let's not award the contract, let's wait and see what steel prices do, et cetera.
So, but in the review, did we already pay for a seismic evaluation? We did, okay, so this is just, we're gonna go out and do it again based on the current.
It's the previous seismic evaluations being updated to reflect the new code.
And
And that's under a
another
separate
issue.
contract though. Right,
So
so,
yeah, that one's already been approved, and that is also the one where the structural engineering firm we used for the initial design has actually gone out of business,
That's
no
right.
longer
That's
exists.
right.
So that's where they brought the. new
thank you for
company on.
clarifying that, Kat. Yes, ZFA will become the new structural engineer of record on this project. And so our proposal is we're gonna be receiving that information and we're gonna be assembling their design along with updating any electrical work that needs to be done on the tank, as well as, verifying the civil and combining everything to go out to bid.
And this is the project, so it's the tanks, but it's also adding a chloramine booster station for the
Right.
electrical
Electrical.
associated
So I'm
with
not
that.
sure if we talked about this already before, but the structural engineer that went out of business. The work that they did, that we paid for,
Yeah.
the work that they did is ours, right?
Yeah, it's being used, but we need an engineer of record,
Yes.
reviewing it and
Perfect.
updating, and they
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
have total comfort in it.
Okay.
Perfect, that's.
But they're
where I was
using it
heading.
to
That's where I was heading, cause I
Yeah.
kept thinking.
Like,
we're paid for this, so-
what happened to the work?
Right, and they're
I'm sure,
gone.
I'm sure we paid them, you know, so before they went
So, yeah.
belly up, yeah.
Right. And then we're expecting this, once it goes out to bid. Put shovels in the ground 26. Yes, by 26, okay. That's the plan.
Yeah.
So, halfway through 25, so, yeah. Okay, that's all for me, thank you.
And you're gonna be responsible for all of the site work associated with it.
Right.
And linking up with the LMO contract, which is breaking the piping.
Yeah, they're gonna be bringing piping into a certain point, but then the piping that's immediately on the tank site is gonna be replaced as part of
Right.
the Tacoma project,
Right.
tank project.
Okay.
Any motion on question? Any motion?
Please,
Yeah, go ahead.
Like a motion to approve the 2025-23 authorization tank order, 2515.
I'll say,
Director Cotton,
Yes.
Vice President Vella,
yes.
Director Zuka,
yes.
Director Covington, President Wheeler.
Yes. A progress report on WD website, marketing and public relations outreach. John, anything else?
Davidson, he's on.
So we have John Davidson here on Zoom. Hopefully he'll pop up with his camera. We'll see. So he gave us update last year and he was here because he made the visit and we had, a bunch of staff training and other things. So he's joining us from Utah tonight to give an overview on just, and we're talking about this, just how many things when you look back and kind of like over the course of the year, just how many campaigns and things we touched. It's every time it's just kind of, how did we do that in a year? And a lot of the reason of how we managed to do all that is because of John's wonderful support. So. How's your audio doing, John?
Thanks, can you hear me okay?
Try again.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, but your picture went off.
You might show multiple participants.
Yeah, no, he came in on a third. There we go. Now you're muted.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. We tested this out earlier, right, Allison? We
Yes.
tested this out. Something failed on me somewhere along the line. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't catch much of the introduction there. I hope it was flattering.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Am I good to go?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Thanks for having me on board. I'm actually here in Salt Lake City, so I'm a little bit remote. I'm like more remote than I usually am. So if I'm considered a remote contractor, this is really a remote. But so anyways, I want to thank the board and of course Kat and Allison for having me on board today. We spent the last week or two working on this annual report, and I'd like to also thank Misty, Ron, and Drew for input on some of the data points that I need to introduce into these reports each year, and hopefully kind of provide some interesting statistics for those who are interested in how the website was working and the CRM platforms and water rebate programs and such. So yeah, so hopefully we can make this brief. And I don't know what format. I think in the past, if there was ever any questions coming in from the board or from Kat or Al, or whoever else, feel free to chime in, interrupt me as much as you want. The less I talk, probably the better. So, and I also want to send some greetings to our new board directors there for Joanne and Chuck. So this is about as close as we get to a formal introduction, I think, at least until I come back to the office here in the next year or so. All right, the first slide, I think this is an update that shows all the different services and relationships that I have across the MPWD ecosystem. So if you want to have a really good visual of all the aspects that I'm involved in on a regular basis, this is it. I've updated this for a couple of small items here, especially with Aviana coming on board. I've already started working with her in the last couple of weeks. I got Allison in here. I think I had Allison here before last year as well. Yeah, just updated a couple of the different things that I'm involved with in each of those domains, as I like to call them internally. All right, every year I like to start off with the website performance, kind of an update on, just the larger, events that happened with the website over the past year. We've actually done some facelifting. You might have noticed that with the new Spider banner console or the carousel there. Try to make it a little bit nicer, a little more interactive, a little more modern. And after, I don't know, it's been a few years. I think Matt brought this up in a board meeting a number of years ago about putting some type of shortcut console onto the website. And so we have kind of the beginnings of that now. So that way we can kind of, springboard customers to the most frequently used functions on the website. We've done a few other facelifts throughout the website too. And we're looking to kind of do that as we move along, because the website is now about 8 years old, maybe 9. And I think it's time to kind of, add some more functionality and to do some other improvements as we go along to enhance the usability of the site for our customers. One of the fun kind of things that we did this year, in the past year, was for the rate change page. We did, Kat asked me if we could do like an online bill calculator, so that those, when we're going through the Prop 218 process, if customers want to go ahead and maybe calculate what their bill would look like before and after the rate change. We got that going and had that up and running, and we updated that too for the rate change back on June 30th, I believe it was. So I think you might have all been aware of that tool. That was an interesting project to do, and I think it was really a really good value add to that process. You also see I've got the last 6 or 7 months of performance data on the website. We have a little bit more this year, a little bit more on the averages this year, but I think we've also had a very busy spring, winter and spring. We've had some requests for bids go out for the capital improvement project, and we've had a couple of employment recruitments going out there. So we've had a lot of traffic coming into the site, not just from customers, but from interested third parties. Those who are interested in the board vacancies or interested in employment opportunities, also interested in the request for bids that we had going a number of times. We've also had some traffic that started, you'll see on the next page. Actually, real quick, let's go back, if you don't mind, Allison, go back to the previous one. I wanted to kind of show some, I kind of highlighted and read some of the more spiky content on the website, areas that were, kind of spikes in traffic for those particular months. So you can kind of see how they correlate to some of the things we did, especially with the recruitment for the OM position, as well as for customer service. So we had a lot of hits on our employment opportunities page, working at MPWD. We had our normal spike in the water quality attendance after the CCR went out. Back in January, we had some interest in our wildfire safety seminar that we were driving people to. I really don't know why mini succulents were a big thing in January, because that was a workshop we did a couple of years ago. So who knows how that goes. But on a regular basis, the most common high traffic areas are there in the right area, paying your bill safely, customer portal, the water watch, and rebate programs. Those are the most popular spots on the website, and they continue to be so. But yeah, from last year, we've seen a higher average, a slightly higher average, and more sessions on an average basis than we've had in the past.
I will just point out briefly that the version you have in your packet is a little older than the version we're showing here. We had some trouble with liftoffs reporting, so that data kind of became available.
Okay,
So that's why there's a little discrepancy.
Reading my
what you
note.
got, Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we got May and June plugged in, but we didn't get February, it looks like. Okay, I had a question regarding how, so being like a novice user, I figured I'm gonna pretend that I'm somebody that has no idea what they're doing, which pretty much was, and go in and I'm gonna register and pay my bill online. So I go in, the website looks beautiful, by the way, go in, click on pay bill, you gotta set up an account setup goes easy, and then it's find your account, and it's, I don't know why it listed East Palo Alto Water and Mid-Penn on there, but obviously Mid-Penn's my water company, so I click on that. And then you put in your last name on your bill and your account number. And I don't have a physical bill, but I usually pay through my bank with my account number. And I put it in, it doesn't take it. And so I'm wondering, where is the website grabbing my account number if I'm a user going in to try to set up my account to pay online? And that may be super deep in the weeds right here, but just, and we can take it offline, but just something curious, because again, as a regular person just coming in and want to do this, we obviously want to drive traffic here, but it would be very easy to go, well, I'm not going to bother with this. So just something to look at.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a little difficulty with the picking up the volume here from. Is that Chuck?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Chuck. Can you? Yeah, I'm sorry. The volume is really low on this end of things. Was the question regarding the XBP platform, the bill pay platform?
Yes.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I'm afraid I won't be able to answer many of the questions regarding that platform at the third party. Are you mentioning about the process of how to get into the system and use that to get logged into it, or?
No, like an actual kind of error in their system. So, something we'll look into. I haven't heard that that's been a problem. I know that the very initial rollout, we had the worst timing because right when we went live, Express Bill Pay actually had power and internet outages back in their headquarters. So it was just really unfortunate bad timing. They've not had problems like that. We just got the bad timing. So if it was just like on the wrong day, but if it's more of a systematic problem, so we'll look into that. We'll talk to you on.
You said East Palo Alto came on?
It's like choose your water company. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, definitely something we've got to figure out.
So,
but it is their system that's just kind of, hosted.
okay. I just didn't know where it was grabbing customer account info, and so that's not my case. We got to drill into with that other agency. Okay. Go ahead, John. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think I have some. I'll touch bases on the Express Bill Pay transition here. Whatever's in my purview, of course. So, but we definitely did have some noticeable traffic on the website, that's for sure. So on the next, regarding to that program, so if you can take us to the next slide. I put some sample months here to kind of show you what Kat and Allison and myself see on a regular basis from liftoff. This is day by day traffic on the website. So I've got them listed out by month to give you an idea. So like December would be kind of like your normal kind of month, where you have a Monday, Tuesday spike and then a trail off, and a Monday, Tuesday spike and a trail off. And but we do have some interesting spikes, as you can see, like there was January. we had a spike. I think that was correlated to the request for bid that went out. I think it was for the DLNO project. And all these other spikes too, like the ones in April and May especially, are correlated to employment opportunities that were opening up. So it's nice to see response. It's nice to actually have some feedback to show what, whatever our efforts are, whether they be promotional mailers or reaching out to third parties for employment opportunities or referrals. And we can actually judge that too through our data. We can actually look at the most common referrals to our website, and you'll see that at the top. I had to kind of squish it in there. But the most common websites that refer and drive traffic to Mid-Peninsula Water District's website, outside of Google that is, include San Mateo County Health and their government website. We get about 50 to 60 referrals from their website almost on a monthly basis. waterdistrictjob.com, APWA, I think that was related to the job searches as well. A couple others look like they might have been related to requests for bids. So, other websites know how to connect to us, and we're seeing some spikes in our traffic as a result of that. So, then I bring up June because June was kind of an interesting case. There was some spikes at the beginning of the month and a spike at the very end of the month. And I thought it was because of the CCR, the water line, but it doesn't really correlate well to what the kind of, we don't usually get traffic because of the CCR. We usually get phone calls, but not traffic on the website because of the CCRs. But it looks like I kind of, did some research and looked at the back end for our CRM platform and talked to Ron and Misty, and it appears that that's exactly when the express bill pay system was, hit the ground running, and we had a lot of traffic when it did that. And then at the very end of the month, it looks like that is when the first bill went out to customers after express bill pay. So these are spikes, but probably not for all the right reasons, but there they are. But otherwise, you can see the baselining for the regular traffic patterns on the website. So, anyone have any questions about that? Without going too much on a deep dive, I guess, on the data.
What is considered a conversion? Just in terms of the terminology here.
It says
Oh.
overall traffic and website conversions.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, the overall traffic, it's in the data. If you get like zooming in, you can kind of see when people come to the website, do we convert them to more sessions, I believe. So conversions kind of are a little bit more meaningful because the event count's kind of raw, but sessions kind of is a little more meaningful. For what MPWD needs to look at the data, it's not super helpful. It's not really, we're not running a retail product line or something like that. So we get about, for every user that comes to the website, we get about 1.5 on average pages that they go to.
So John, is a conversion when they go from one page to another page?
I believe so. Yeah. The interesting thing about Liftoff is that, from year to year, they've actually changed some of the terms. And I think that's because Google keeps changing their terms. They keep on changing terms on what's considered significant data. So it used to be hits, and then it became visits, and then it became events, and now sessions and such. So a lot of this is new because Google changed their, we had a fallout in a lot of data because Google changed all their parameters for how they do their analytics. And Liftoff had to kind of catch up and figure out how to populate that into these monthly reports. So it's still a little bit new. I think it does, it's, how well we're converting traffic into, dwelling on I guess you can say, right? Like, are they jumping to another page? Are they staying on the site for a certain amount of time? But you can see where the sessions are showing up there on the yellow graphs, but it's kind of hard to see the numbers. But like I said, they it tracks with the events anyways, and that's what we're really kind of, just interested in, make sure that we're getting the right amount of customers coming to the website. And it looks like the average has been about stable for the last 5 years. We get about anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000 users per month on the site, and about 3,500 sessions. And like I said, that's been stable for the last 5 years, up until like the spring where we had all this activity. But
Thank you.
all right, should we move on to the next? So that covers pretty much all the website. We have some other digital platforms I'll cover here later in the presentation, but the next couple of slides will just cover a lot of the actual paper publications that we do per year, the CCR, the water line, and I think we had a really interesting CCR cover design this year. Everything inside was pretty much the same old, same old. I don't really go into the CCR that much of what I do, but there's a lot of prep work that happens in the months leading up to the CCR. So I do a lot of studying of the regulations every year. With the DDW and the SFPUC, they have a lot of different regulations. They want to make sure that there's certain data that gets into the CCR this year, and they have all these recommended copy and other things. So there's a lot of back and forth with Jonathan Anderson that I do, and of course with Kat, to make sure that the information that we're putting in is not only accurate, but what's required, and that we're kind of staying on point with the data and making sure we cover all our bases. And of course, we want to make it as attractive as possible so people actually read it. And this year, there weren't too many kind of crazy things that kind of happened like in previous years. I don't think there was any coliform issues or the, cryptosporidium stuff or whatever else like that. The organics and everything's pretty normal this year. This year's water line was really fun to do. We had a lot of content in there. And we even had the emergency water storage and safety guide insert that I worked on with Kat on. That's all kind of part of our disaster preparedness campaign this year. So everybody who got a copy of the water line received a one-page insert on how to store water and how to use water after or during an emergency. So you probably saw that in the mail. Okay, express bill pay. Of course, I'm not involved involved in the actual implementation of express bill pay or how it all works, but I was there to kind of transition and make sure that customers were able to get onto the new bill pay platform as easily as possible, since we have a lot of infrastructure already surrounding driving people to the old Civic Pay. So we worked in a very tight time frame when Express Bill Pay did deploy to make sure that all the links worked correctly. That whenever we had any type of advertising chances in the lead up, such as the rate change promo card, we piggybacked some messaging on there just to kind of prepare the ratepayers for the changeover. Actually, it was more to prepare them to receive mail or some type of, I believe Express Bill Pay actually sent out their own mailers, so we didn't have to do all that that work. But you can see where we accommodated this new bill pay structure on the back of the new bill statement. And there's like multiple points on the website where we had links to go to the new Express Bill Pay platform. So it wasn't a very difficult project, but there's a little bit of gymnastics to do over the course of a day or two. All right, we got some just interesting data on Water Watch. We've had 202 new signups over the past year, which was kind of a little bit above, right around average, I suppose. Kind of a little surprising. We keep promoting Water Watch, and it's still resulting in year after year, we're still adding a couple hundred each time. I think most of that, though, what Ron is telling me, though, I think is from new customers and not necessarily from existing customers. He indicates that they have a new process now, and we have we actually have a fax sheet that we give out to all of our new customers when they come on board. Customer service actively promotes Water Watch. So when they come on board as a customer, they're being led to join up under Water Watch as well. So I think a lot of those new add-ons are coming from new customers. So it's hard to kind of judge whether we're getting too much new signups from all of our existing marketing on that. There seems to be a saturation point with it. So, and then the water rebate programs, the information comes from Drew. You've already seen that, I believe, in his report last month. And we still have a lot of vehicles that we use to promote the rebate programs as much as possible through the water line, bill statement ads, all throughout the website ecosystem. But it looks like we're kind of on average. We just get a few, but that's something that Drew can address as well. All right. Every year or so, we do a kind of a campaign that kind of overarches across all the different publications we do, or the website. This year is the Water Worker Heroes program. This is kind of in line with some of the strategic goals for MPWD, and also kind of aligns with a little bit of the I guess you could say the ethos there, which is recruiting, focusing on employment, staff, and we're looking at different ways to kind of project that out to the service area. Also, kind of the subtext is recruiting for people to kind of get into the water worker industry. This is also kind of in line with APWA. They also seem to be very intent on this. They have their different campaigns you'll see on the next pages. But so we created this Water Worker Hero series that kind of generically, no one is being specifically targeted as far as their likenesses from the operations department. So we kind of made them generic, but also fun, kid friendly, but also something that also interesting, visually appealing within the water line and other areas where we might deploy this. So we're trying to kind of, project out to the customers that, not only is this a great place to work, for water workers, but also we want to tip our hat to the work that they do and how important it is. The people behind the curtain who are out there, making sure that your water is being delivered safely and, all throughout the day. So there's no service interruptions. So, so that was the campaign that was also expressed on the cover of the CCR. So we've had a little fun with that this year. Last year we had the 95th anniversary. So that was kind of a ringer, but this one was a little bit new. And we think that so far we've had some good feedback.
My favorite of the things we've done in the superheroes.
All right. Talking about the capital improvement program, I'm always involved in doing some type of outreach. Either if there's an active project, I'll sometimes work with behind the scenes to kind of reach out to local businesses or being impacted by capital improvement programs. This year we had didn't have too much of that. The ERC is done, and they're wrapping up a few other projects as well. But one of the big things was the new CIP. That was deployed last year, at the end of last year. We developed a platform where people can go and explore what's in that new capital improvement program. We have a lot of visuals on that page. And we also did the Folger Emergency Operations Center project, which was good because we had to not only advertise that out to the onto the website and to the whole entire district area, but we had some outreach that I work with Kat and Rena on, and put together an outreach project to the neighbors, those in the neighborhood that were going to be affected by that project. So we worked on that program as well. And we're launching the backflow prevention and cross-connection control plan. I believe that's what it is. And we've already have a kind of a working model of what we're going to put onto the website. I'm sure Rena I think he reported on that program last month.
Yeah, so just to clarify, we haven't adopted our cross-connection control plan yet, but we're kind of gearing up, knowing there's gonna be a lot of public education outreach and gearing up for that. We don't have the final decisions on what's going in the plan yet, but it'll all be communicated multiple ways to the public.
Yeah. Yeah, we've just scratched the surface, and this page that we've created is not available to the public yet. It's more like a dojo where we kind of train up on, how we want to present the information. And so it's kind of, we're doing a little bit of merging with the plan as it gets developed and approved in the coming months. But we're prepared, so we'll be ready for that. And when that's up and running, we'll look at other ways to get the information out to the customers. I'm sure they'll be shocked. All right, community outreach. We had a pretty good year. MPWD is still trying to get back into the saddle again with their full range of community events. So we have the National Night Out. That looked like that was a lot of fun last year. I wish I was at that one. We had some great. What's that?
It's coming up again. What's the date?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah, I'm not sure when it is. Yeah, I think we're going to start advertising for it on the website here pretty soon.
Yep, August 5th.
Yeah, but I think we actually put it into the water line. So it's already been advertised in the water line. One thing that you see is probably common, all that is that that working model of the district. Ever since MPWD decided to roll those out to the community events, it seems like it's a winning situation for sure. Get a lot of interest on that. So. MPWD was involved in the Belmont Blooms Community Garden Open House this year. So we did some advertising on that. The city was already advertising it. We just showed up, but it sounded like that was a lot of fun as well. And, we have our regulars such as the annual Public Works Open House and a few other things. So those are really good community outreach. This year we didn't do Earth Day because Belmont postponed their Earth Day for this year for different reasons. So hopefully we'll get back into the saddle with that next year. Yes, Customer Connect. This is maybe part of the publications. This was the Prop 218 process for last year's rate increase. So this is just kind of a snapshot of all the different elements that was involved with that particular campaign. And on a regular basis, our billing statement ads, every month we come up with, billing statement ads to promote something from customer service or community, outreach or, what have you. So every month I reach out to Ron, Missy, Kat, and just see what's coming up that needs to be promoted. And that gets into the billing statements. And then, Kat had a great project on the board recruitment. So we sent some promo cards when that was, I think that came up in December, right? And we kind of promoted that. We kind of went out there and pushed some promo cards and put messaging on the website. And I believe we even put on the back of the rate change promo cards that went out in November, December. So, and we had a pretty good website landing page for that too. So we really tried to, make it as attractive. And I know we have a couple of board members that might attest to whether that worked or not.
Yes, I'll attest to it. I got the cards in the mail and was very interested. Worked very well.
Yeah.
So-
That was a fun project to work on. So, all right. So, on a regular basis, we're seeing this more and more. I think this is, a testament to Kat's interaction with, the different agencies out there. In this case, APWA and Aqua. And so they push out some media packets for all the different campaigns, that are related to water awareness or, water workers. I guess they call it the Water Professionals Appreciation Week. So we jump on board. It's kind of like soft messaging, but we do put it on the website, and we have some good landing pages we designed for those. So that's one of the ongoing campaigns I work with on a regular basis. All right, internal things. I'm engaged on various things internally as well. You know, the staff need from me. You know, it could be vehicle graphics. I do those on a regular basis whenever we have a new service vehicle come online or what have you. I was tapped to kind of work on the residential termination policies and get multiple languages translated for those for posting online. This is actually, there right there in the left-hand corner is the CRM platform. It's really small, but extremely important. It's one of the new things that we added to the website, at least to the back end. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with them, but this is the customer relations management platform that we created, where our customer service department can actually have kind of a console or dashboard where they can interact with form submissions coming from the website that would be related to billing issues or stop service, start service, whatever else like that. So we work with Liftoff to kind of customize this platform to kind of bridge that gap. The previous system, we were seeing dropouts. So people would submit a form, and it would somewhere along in the line, the email chain, it would just disappear, which is not good when people want to get their service started or stopped. So we've been running this now for about 8 months, and it seems like it's doing the job. I believe Aviana has already been put up to speed on this. And I got some data in there, so I can kind of take a look in there, and you can kind of see there in the blue sidebar how many customer form submissions are coming into MPWD on a monthly basis. So we're getting anywhere from 40 to 50 per month. And yeah, so that's a good system. Allows the form submissions coming from the website to be categorized and to be processed internally, to be handed off to whoever staff member would be better set to actually answer those questions. And we're going to keep on improving on that system as we move along. So in the end, this is a little bit lengthy in here, the 2025. So these are the goals moving forward for 25-26. I think some of the big ones to kind of point out would be the WCAG conformance for the DOJ. They have new guidelines that require us by 2027 to be accessibility, I guess, as accessible as possible, which we already are. We already are WCAG 2.0. We did that 5 years ago on our own. But now it looks like it's finally reached the status of unfunded mandates, and all special districts are going to be required to do this. So I'm working on that. I've already done research onto the DOG's website for what they're expecting, what the WCAG 2.1 criteria are, and where we need to adapt that, and what type of policies I need to put together and submit to MPWD for review, as well as standard operating procedures for testing the website for accessibility. And then we're also working on the updating the mass notification system, the newsflash system for MPWD, and some other facelifts for the website. And outside of that, that is about it.
A lot of stuff to cover, a lot of outreach.
Questions?
Yeah, on that consumer confidence report, what kind of feedback did we get with that? Because it was a pretty, exactly, it was a very nicely printed and good quality and all that. And I looked at it and go like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting, like John said, there's like more, traffic to the water quality page after the CCR comes out. I mean, not specifically related to work here, but I've noticed in general, from just like random people I talk to and meet, a lot of people are asking about fluoridation. Because of, the discussions at the national level.
Yes.
So, I don't know how much of that we get, but I haven't gotten a lot of direct feedback myself on the CCR.
Mm-mm, me either.
Certainly no negative feedback that we're getting. But, you know, it's one of our outreach. It's one of these things where, you know, folks get it and they say, oh, yes, Mid-Pen. It's a reminder that we're there and we do good work and make awesome stickers that my 4-year-old loves.
I'll give you a big compliment on it. So my wife teaches yoga in Redwood City. And they've been having this nightmare ongoing problem with the water in their building. And their plumber says the water's bad, you shouldn't drink the water. And I said, wait a minute, this is way, way wrong. I said, this is what we just put out for our city. You take this with you to work tomorrow and you show them, you want to see whatever results for testing, what have you to go out. She's like, this is exactly what I was looking for, to talk to these guys because they don't know the language that is being discussed here. So it's, I mean, for Belmont, I know we're in good shape, but
It's so interesting because I live in Redwood City and they take such a different approach on outreach. Things from like the Prop 218 notice is just this black and white, couple of page, no graphics thing that's like designed to be looked at and tossed away immediately, not even opened. And for their CCR, and I don't know if this entirely meets the intent of the law, all they do is they send out a postcard. Got some other information on it, had some cross-connection information, and had like a QR code to the website. And that's what they do with CCR, and you go online. So you have to actually seek out the CCR information in Redwood City if that's what you want. So I'm not surprised folks working and living in Redwood City aren't aware of this, but
that's
Just
great
different approach.
for our city. This is really nice.
So they said that the water is not good, don't drink it, is that what they
Yeah,
said?
the guy.
Well, the water, the same water that we get, they get.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, that's exactly what I told her. And I said, here, you wanna see some history? There's book, this is the same water. It all comes in the same system. And I said, and she's in like a strip mall. There's a market, a brewery, 2 restaurants, and some other stuff.
Is he on Woodside Road?
No, she's sort of Bay and Marsh.
Marsh Manor.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, down there.
And so I said, that's impossible. I said, go talk to there's a dentist too. I said, go ask the dentist if people like throwing up the water. I said, that's an unacceptable answer. That the water is not good, don't drink the
Yeah.
water. So there's something between the plumber and
Yeah,
doing.
there
this.
are areas down there that Cal Water probably, because I don't think Redwood City goes that far south. But regardless, the
Yeah,
water still comes from the same source.
yeah. So anyway, this was just really helpful for her to have a conversation with the studio
Yeah.
manager and people. So I knew
Good.
nobody can say.
And on the classes for the landscaping, we host them, do we give the class ourselves, or do we hire somebody?
It's a program through Bosca. So Bosca finds the different trainers and teachers for the classes, and we sign up and say, ooh, that one sounds good this year. And so we sponsor it, we host it on Zoom, or we host it in person, depending on what it
The
is.
picture of it was here, right?
Mhm.
Was that here?
It was here actually Dairy Lane. Well, so actually the previous one was Dairy Lane and the other one is here.
Yeah.
And you know, any person can sign up for a Bosca class. It
Right.
doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
only Mid-Pen customers for Mid-Pen ones.
No, my question
So
was
it's
if
cost,
if anybody from our staff was giving the class, or if it's some other
Yeah.
landscape person.
Yeah,
that
it's
comes
a
in.
professional, and then Drew arranges them, and
Okay.
he's there, and when I, you know, if my schedule
Because
allows.
the
then-
picture, I thought I saw Drew on the picture.
Yeah, well, he's he's
Yeah.
there for it, and
Okay,
we'll, you know, ask questions and get the conversation going and all that. So
are those pretty popular? People sign up? for
it
that?
depends. It was funny. This last one we did, and I don't think it had to do with our promotion. It just didn't wind up being a very popular class. The one we did
Depending on
before.
the time of
we
day
had
that
a
it's
bunch.
given, maybe.
Yeah, you just have to get lucky, and you know what else is going on in the world at the time. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question there about the attendance?
For
Yeah,
the
Yeah, the last one
landscape
wasn't.
plan-
well
Landscape
attended,
classes, yeah.
But some have been very, very well attended, so.
yeah, I have a difficult, I think the microphone volume is a little bit difficult, but I know that the last one that we tried to do for spring was kind of a last minute, like it kind of like, it was kind of too late. It happened too quickly for us to actually get any momentum on promoting it. So we're gonna work on fixing that for, get, ahead of the one for this fall. I believe the one that we did last fall was lightly attended. I know I was actually attending a succulent workshop, I think back in 2018 with Jeanette, and that thing was full. But I think that was before COVID, and after COVID, things kind of changed. I also think a lot of it really does hinge on Bosca and how well they promote. There's only so much that we can do to promote, but they're really the ones that kind of, I believe, drive that program. And it seems like in the last year or so, it's been not quite as robust, I guess you can say, from Bosca's end. I think they're the ones that bring the instructors into the pool and the different kind of programs, and we just pick and choose from that. So, yeah, it's a very interesting project, and I think that those who attend them, get a lot out of them for sure. They're lots of fun, and there are instructors that are more favorable to the customers than others. Sometimes that's actually, it could be a deterrent or it could be a magnet, but. And I think that, the issue of having the proper venue to conduct those workshops at MPWD since the flood is a little bit, it's changed. It used to be done there in the old boardroom down there at Dairy Lane.
Yeah, I mean,
which
it was fine. We did it in Dairy Lane and it was great, and we've done them on Zoom, which is what most of them are, so. And I think, Kirk, I think you had a question?
Yeah, I had one of my constituents ask me about the lead and drinking water section of this. And they read through this page and they were scared because all it does is it talks about the problems associated with lead in drinking water.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the paragraph that explains that our water served here in Belmont has some of the lowest lead levels you'll find anywhere.
Yeah.
So they didn't get to the connection between that and the numbers that were in the table.
Yeah, that's good feedback. This is language that came from SFPC that we're told that, copy and paste. I mean, obviously elsewhere in here, we talked about our own lead and copper sampling results from the previous page and the data itself. That's good feedback. We can make some changes next year to make it a little bit more clear.
Well, maybe if they were on the same page, then that would.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, layout or even adding a sentence or two to SFPC's language.
Okay. All right, John.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
John.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on board. I hope to be there soon in person, maybe for the next one.
Yeah,
Great.
Sure.
excellent. Take
We'll be
care.
waiting for you. It's on our calendar.
Do it. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thanks, good night, John.
Thank you.
All right.
So item 8B, updated COVID-19 prevention plan.
And that is me. So this is just going to be really quick. So the updated COVID prevention plan is just getting us up to the guidelines that are just kind of making us with OSHA guidelines. The last time that it was updated was back when COVID was first coming on board, which was in 2021. So this is just taking a 21-page document into a now 2-page document, and it's just taking out all of the old language and putting in all of the new language and legislation that we are going to just be following.
And I know there was, in talking to board members prior, there was some questions regarding, why does the COVID prevention plan only address COVID and not other diseases? And part of that's because there's laws very specific to COVID that expire next year, and so we want to make sure we speak to those. And the other is because we also have our greater IIPP, which this becomes a part of, that does talk about other illness prevention, and other hazards. So it's not that we're ignoring other disease hazards, it's just that this is very, as we know, COVID being very unique. It gets addressed very.
And you think that these guidelines on COVID will expire next year?
So there are certain guidelines that will expire next year. For example, the reporting of COVID outbreak cases. that will expire in February of 2026, those types of things that will expire. But again, things will change, I'm sure. And it's just keeping up with our document, making sure that it's up to date.
Thing with that, could get extended, who knows?
But are we are required to have this
Yes,
specific on COVID?
correct.
Okay.
So this one you are asked to approve.
Like, I guess my only question on this is that this makes me pretty administrative. I don't know if this kind of plan needs to come forward personally. I would say that this is a staff level thing. Like an IIP doesn't come to the board for approval.
Yeah, I believe the first one did come to the board, so.
I
that-
believe that's why we brought it to the board, because it could, yeah.
You know, not a full resolution.
There's no harm in coming to the board either.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I would, my point is that like maybe going forward, then that like. It got to the point where it doesn't have to come. Save the staff. But with that in mind,
So
I
you
move
need,
approval.
okay.
Second.
Director Zuga?
Yeah.
Director Covington?
Yeah.
Director Cotton?
Yes.
Vice President Vella?
Yes,
President Wheeler?
The Happy Hydrant program.
All right. The fun item, as always. So, Michael Anderson is here, and actually, I had thought I was gonna be, running through this item, but Michael loves Happy Hydrants so much. He wanted to, he put together a wonderful presentation and wanted to go through his history of his love for Happy Hydrants.
The passion. I brought a couple of my friends here.
tell whether it's their sarcasm.
Love it. In Belmont in '96, and I thought this was one of the coolest things about the city.
National TV.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Original 1976 Happy Hydrants.
We'll see how you feel after looking at them for 26 years.
Maybe sarcasm.
Yeah, a little bit. So we're gonna talk about a few things. It'll be fairly brief. We'll talk about a little bit of history of the Happy Hydrants. We'll talk about some challenges that they've had over the years, our selection process and the hydrants that we chose. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between wet barrel and dry barrel hydrants for those of you who may not know. Here we have one dry barrel hydrant and a wet barrel hydrant closer to this side of the room. And then we'll talk a little bit about the program policy and see where we end up. So starting with a little bit of history, in 1976, the United States celebrating 200 years, several or a few towns throughout the country decided to take on this task and paint some of their hydrants in a patriotic kind of manner. And Belmont was one of those cities. Belmont was also celebrating their 50 years at the time in 1976. And 300 hydrants were initially, well, about 300 hydrants were initially painted. About 15 years later, in 1991, East Bay Hills fire almost put an end to the Happy Hydrants. We'll talk a little bit about that. A bill was signed, 1437, which saved them. And then in 2001, Belmont celebrating 75 years, repainted approximately 80 hydrants. And currently we have approximately 45 hydrants still scattered throughout the distribution system, just sporadically. And then Belmont has reached out to us to see if we can kind of get things going again. They're about to celebrate their 100th year, and they'd like to see some of these hydrants continue to be painted, and the program to continue. So next slide, please. Thank you. It's right there. So the East Bay fire, which created challenges for the Happy Hydrants, as you can see, there were challenges during the fire when it came to some flows that some firefighters that were, not from the area coming to assist with the fire, weren't sure what type of fire flows they could expect from the hydrants because there was no color coding and there was some confusion there. So I believe it was January of '94 that the state of California was required to basically come up with a color coding system so that it would be clear to firefighters what they could expect. So if you look at the chart on the lower portion of the slide, you can see that, for example, the hydrant on the right, the image, you can see it's a kind of reflective white color. And then the caps are painted blue. And that would indicate that this particular fire hydrant, the fire flows you would expect to achieve would be 1500 GPM or more with a 20 PSI residual. So, and then obviously the on the left side of the image, you can see a happy hydrant that, its caps are painted very colorfully, and there's no way to indicate what type of flows you're going to see there. So this presented a challenge for the happy hydrants. Next slide, please. But they had support, and in 1998, a bill was signed, SB 1437, which allowed agencies to have alternate options for color coding their fire hydrants. So on the left side of the screen, you see an image that shows a green reflector button that has to be placed toward the center of the street. And this is a clear indication to the fire department that, based on our chart that we see at the bottom and the center, this fire hydrant is expected to achieve 1,000 to 1,499 GPM. There had to be two markings. So what was also allowed was a curb marking, which on the right side, you'll see some paint on the curb, green color paint. Again, letting the fire department know what kind of flows they can expect to find at that hydrant. So that saved the happy hydrants and allowed many people to be happy because didn't have to paint over them.
And it seems
Did
that,
it work for the fire departments?
Yes, it's a clear indication for the fire departments as to what is there, but they have to be maintained. We've seen some challenges with it, as you can see in this. Well, thank you. I actually, when I went out to this site, I had my green spray paint and painted the curb over again because oftentimes, the city paints the red on the curb, and some of them have been painted over. Some of them are faded, like the hydrants, but so it's a challenge, but that's just coordination with the city and making sure that those colors are still there.
and so, because of this requirement, there's just, a little bit of extra maintenance, a little bit of extra kind of care that you have to take for the happy hydrants. So it's one of the reasons when we get into like the scope, we wanted to keep it limited. We didn't want 300 happy hydrants across the system like was originally done, just because of the added work.
So if I understand correctly, it's the water district's responsibility to do the buttons and the curb painting for its hydrants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Next slide, thank you. So part of our selection process here was to, we were focusing on two main roads that are heavily traveled, Ralston and Alameda. We wanted hydrants that are very visible to the public, meets ADA requirements, clearances, and then specifically regarding the hydrants, that they're up to our current standards, which includes the outlets, the wet barrel versus dry barrel, which we'll talk a little bit more about, color coding and clearances. And then also we want to make sure that the fire department, needs are met. So in these pictures you see here below, the fire hydrant on the very right is an active hydrant that is up to our new standard. It meets ADA requirements, the clearances are there, and it has the 3 outlets. So you'll notice on the upper portion of the hydrant, there's 2 2.5-inch outlets. And then below that, there's a 4.5-inch outlet or a steamer or pumper. We had a conversation before the meeting. That's part of our current standard. So the other three hydrants, there's at least one piece of those items missing. So the one on the very left is the same hydrant as the hydrant on the right, but it's in the middle of the sidewalk, so it doesn't meet ADA requirements. And, you know, in order for us to relocate that hydrant, it's a lot of work. And the last thing we want to do is add a hydrant like that to this program. And, you know, people are painting it, and when we know we're gonna have to do work, we know we're gonna have to relocate it. It doesn't meet all of our standards. So that was one of the criteria we looked at. And then also the hydrant next to it, second from the left, certain clearances are met. It's a wet barrel hydrant, but it only has the 2 outlets on it. It doesn't have the 4.5 inch, you know, pumper outlet on it. So again, it'll eventually need to be replaced once it's no longer useful. So we didn't want to add that one. And then the next hydrant over is a dry barrel hydrant, which we'll talk a little bit more about it, but that's again, doesn't meet our standards. So you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So dry barrel versus wet barrel. The reason why this is one of the criteria is just there's a pretty large difference between the two. There are benefits to both. The dry barrel hydrant, which are the 2 images toward the left, they're mostly used in climates where the weather is cold, because as you can see, the water is actually only in the pipe below, pretty much where the water main is going to be, when the hydrant's not being used, because there's a drain hole, which can see on the bottom left of the image. There's a drain hole, and what that does is after the hydrant is used and it's turned off, the water drains so that it can't freeze and the hydrant will remain useful. On the other side, the wet barrel hydrant, there's water always to the very top of the hydrant. The pressure is always there. But we live in a climate that we don't have to worry about the water freezing. So it's a preference in this area. Couple differences, like the dry barrel hydrant, one nice thing about it is because the valve is below ground and somewhat protected, in the 26 years I've been here, I've never seen a dry barrel hydrant be hit by a vehicle or struck and damaged and had a leak, because the valving stays in place and you don't have wasted water and a big mess, which is a huge benefit. On the flip side, wet barrel hydrants, that's when you start to see the geysers and the craziness and lots of water. But our standard to take care of that issue is we have check valves that we install beneath our wet barrel hydrants. So it protects, you know, there's no liability for much water damage or anything like that. We still have a check valve on it, so it takes care of that issue. And then maintenance is another thing between wet barrel and dry barrel hydrants, which makes a difference for us. I mean, all the work is above ground, nothing below ground that we need to worry about. So this is another one of the important pieces of the puzzle, that we didn't include any dry barrel hydrants for the 24 that were selected for this policy for that reason, because they'll eventually need to be replaced. The dry barrel hydrants are you know, a bit of work to move and replace. So I think we can go to the next slide. So getting to the summary of the policy, key points, roles and responsibilities of the city of Belmont. They will be administering the program regarding application, scheduling, materials. They will be ensuring that pedestrian safety and traffic control are taken care of, and managing any permits that are necessary. The program participants will be submitting their designs to the city and the district for approvals. The participants also will be signing acknowledgements stating that they're aware of the hydrant's emergency infrastructure use and that the district has the right to remove or replace the hydrant. And then also, I mean, any damage that may occur due to, you know, maintenance and the work that we have to do, they'll have to understand that that's a potential issue that is going to happen. And then on our end, we will be preparing the surface of the hydrant so that the paint is gonna adhere. The one nice thing about it is most of the hydrants that we've selected are newer models. They haven't been, repainted a bunch of times. It's not gonna be as much work to get them ready, but hydrants have a lot of nooks and crannies and just, they're kind of a pain, but we're not gonna leave that to the customer or to the volunteers to take care of that, because it'll be all over the place. So we just want to make sure that we just do it the way we want it done there for them. We estimate that it may be 2 hours of time for an employee at each hydrant to really kind of prepare it and get it ready. But we haven't started.
That was one thing that we discussed quite a bit. It is staff time necessary to prep these, but we really want the painted hydrants to have a lot of longevity. That's what we're going for, is high visibility and as much longevity as we can get. So we avoid folks, 2 years down the line, we painted by, a scout troop or something, and everyone's heartbroken that it's flaking and damaged and or moved. So that was kind of, a lot of the goal here. So we do have the full policy here in your packet. And this was reviewed by Hans and Bridget. Catherine had a bunch of really good suggestions in here. And so, we're looking for your feedback. There's one item, number 2, that I called out that, we debated internally, and we're hoping to get your feedback on. And that's that 2 of the hydrants that we have identified out of the 24 in the program are currently painted as happy hydrants from the original 1970s program. And so we can have them be repainted and refreshed with the same design as a young man did a few years ago, and you can see his presentation kind of at the end of your board materials, and he came and presented to the board about how he revamped and repainted in the same design. Or we could allow them to paint over with a new design, so we could choose to limit, one or the other, or not. So we're hoping to get your feedback on that, as well as, any other provisions in here that you have questions or thoughts on.
If you want us to decide whether or not to keep the old design, shouldn't we actually see that design?
So, Allison, if you want to pull up in the photos, as part of the policy, the first and second page have the 2 that are already painted. The bottom right one there shows a red and white stripy pattern.
This one?
There. So that is one that's already painted.
This one.
That one's not in the program, the one that's been
No,
fully.
I know that.
refurbished.
We approved this design regardless, even if it was, this guy came in front of us.
Yeah,
Because I know where this hydrant is at, this is
yeah,
the home.
corner of Hallmark and Rawson, yeah.
Yeah, I was there when this kid was doing. it.
Yeah, I know.
He prepped it all himself,
Yeah, he did.
and, I stopped by maybe 2 or 3 times and he wanted to take pictures and all that. But he did a good job. His father was with him too,
Mhm.
helping him, and they had the proper tools, and you could tell that the father, was a pretty good handyman. He knew what he was doing, so we didn't have any problem. However, we obviously need to have, or somebody need to have a little bit of a control over what goes there, we don't want
Yeah,
eggs in our faces either.
yeah, so if you wanna pull up the next page, the top left is the other one that's pre-painted, but yeah, that's part of, you'll see the part of the policy is that they'll submit the designs to the city, and we'll also review the designs, put in limitations there, such as, it can't be too dark, it can't be camouflage, you can't, obviously if a design that you think is problematic for whatever reason, we can veto it. We're focused on operation, operability. So certainly can't add any gewgaws that or interfere in that. But also, I figure if it's an offensive design in any way and people are protesting,
Exactly.
that affects operability, right?
Yeah,
So we,
offensive or political or whatever, you know.
and of course, the city is similarly, they
Yeah.
don't want anything in their program, that's gonna be.
So how many hydrants, Mike, are we talking about total that
For this
could be
program,
painted?
24, just
24.
24, yeah.
And so, and our involvement will be about 2 hours on each one? About 50
Approximately.
hours?
We're assuming, yes.
Plus other staff time to coordinate type of thing, you know.
And at this point, we don't know how the city wants to administer the program. They haven't thought it through, so we'll work with them if, you know, they'll have one weekend where they paint all 24, or if it's gonna be over several, you know, month period where they're organizing groups to do it. But you'll see in the policy, you know, like I said, they're responsible for traffic control, they're responsible for providing the paint.
Yeah.
all of those.
Because I'm assuming it's going to be very similar to the painting of those electrical boxes.
Yeah.
So where the artist will present and then they will coordinate the time and then somebody will actually go there and approve what they're doing. I'm assuming it's gonna be something similar to that.
Yeah, and we won't, and we don't want to necessarily be there during the painting, but we want to make sure it's prepped properly, make sure we agree the design is appropriate. And then after, certainly, we will check it, and make sure it hasn't affected operability, and we'll do our additional, you know, markings that we're required to do.
When the electrical box project was, or was subcommittee on Park and Rec, that we reviewed everything, and there were multiple submissions for various boxes, and some, I think they want to do another round of it down the road, but this was the first time we had done it, as a city. And there was a lot of restrictions around it, for the same thing, it has to be operable, you know, it has to be in a safe space, it can't be anything offensive, it's gotta be, you know, something everybody can live with, so there was a lot of people that reviewed every drawing and every, design, and so I'm sure with these, honestly, you gotta be pretty creative to paint this thing anyway, and try to make it look like something, so I can't imagine too many, like, submissions that are gonna be, you know,
So it's actually
raising eyebrows.
interesting if you Google, you know, painted fire hydrants and see kind of the more current ones that are just out there and pop up. There's some fun ones like garden gnomes and gumball machines and Snoopies and, actually quite cute.
Yeah, I mean,
Not all
we'll
have
get
to be like
creative, but
founding.
I'm totally in sync with the restrictions and guidelines of it. This has to be, this is a safety thing for the community, and obviously utilities, most important, so. But I think it's a good thing for Belmont, people. This is stuff people see every day going through the community, just like the electrical line. And, you know, it's what kind of gives character to our community. It's, you know, it needs to, we're not trying to do every single one like we did last, you know, back then, and I think that would be a little too much, but we've got a good, you know, zone that we're doing them in. And I think it's a fun project.
I guess I'd rather we stay out of selecting the patterns and leave them up to the city. separately.
Yeah, more
they
of
wanna
a
keep-
veto right. They're administering the program. They're doing.
Right. I think you would be happy with that too,
Yes.
because they'll be able to take ownership of that, as long as we've got everything prepped and ready to go. And we've got the guidelines in place, I know Bridget Shearer is gonna probably own this as a project. So she's very good at that.
Are there any thoughts on whether we want to restrict the existing hydrants to be just refreshed, or let them paint it however they want fresh? Leave it the language as is, which is these hydrants may either be repainted with the same design or repainted with a new design as desired.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
I think whoever is going to be doing it would probably want to do their design.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard for them to go like, oh yeah, I accept exactly what I did 50 years ago and I'll do it again.
Unless somebody
Probably they're
still
gonna-
lives there and they're like, I painted this and I wanna redo it and make it the same, but I doubt that's. gonna
Maybe,
happen.
yeah, it'll be like a 1 in 1,000 to do that.
Well, I think that's what happened with the one that was repainted a few years ago was, you know, near the kid's home. He loved it. He just wanted it refreshed, so.
Turn the fire on.
You could strike the paragraph entirely if you wanted. Let's see, I'll find out.
Well, it doesn't actually say anything, you're allowed to do either case.
Yeah, so we can take it out, but yeah, I put it in there just to call up for the conversation.
Yeah.
Any other comments? It doesn't sound like it's a huge expense from our standpoint, we have good community relations, so we should proceed on that basis.
I think we can make a big deal out of it in the newsletter that goes on.
Oh, yeah, we will have photos, we will have a happy hydrant webpage. We'll send it to the
Calendar. with-
news,
that's-
sorry.
Yeah.
Hydrants on it.
You can get on the, evening news,
Oh, yeah.
how wonderful our hydrants are.
Belmont's the best place in the world.
It's a good piece of history to keep up, so.
Okay.
And the staff is gonna love
I can't wait.
it.
The reason that you being an engineer, right?
Until they figure out they gotta.
We'll do grumpy hydrants.
Right.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're prepping and you're gonna be peeling off lead-based paint and handling,
Yeah.
all that.
Hydrants that need to help.
All right, so,
I do have one question related to the safety issue, or the confusion issue with what could be expected in terms of water flows from the hydrants. Is there any concern that they might be painted in such a way that it would conflict with the color coding that's on the street and the button, and do we want to have some kind of
well, so we also set the
Fire related to
policy
that?
to the San Mateo Consolidated, fire deputy marshal. And we'll keep, in conversation with them. So part of it's just educating the firefighters in our area that we're a little bit unique in that we have the happy hydrant, so everyone's trained, if it's
Yeah.
painted funny, look for the button, look for the.
The local fire department will have little problem because most of the information on the location of the hydrant and the flow will be already on their response, on their sheet, and
okay?
it will be on their computer. The issue comes in, like Mike was saying, when you have like a big response and you have people coming from outside the jurisdiction, they may not have that same information. For our local, it shouldn't be a problem, but when you have automatic aid or mutual aid coming in from outside jurisdiction, then you may have a little bit of an issue with that.
Hopefully with you mutually coming in, they're working with the locals. who
Correct,
know
but
and-
usually they are usually
call out,
like
let
third
them
or fourth in, so you already have probably at least 2 or 3 alarms from the local department on the scene already.
So you're mixing outside folks and.
That's a good point, though. I didn't really think about that, because, for example, where we have the green buttons and the green paint on the curb, but then if somebody wants to paint a hydrant and they just happen to want yellow or orange caps or something, at first glance, those bright caps might draw attention to, firefighter.
And that's where like our review for
Yeah.
operability, if for whatever reason they want a white hydrant with orange caps and it's not, we can say that will interfere.
Yeah,
That
This
was
looks
only-
too
okay.
much like,
Okay, so you feel that's covered in the
yeah,
policy, okay.
That's where the veto comes in, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Great design, but not that one.
Yeah.
Add some polka
Veto
dots.
power, yeah.
I'm good then. I think that's a nice compromise between wanting to support it and not making it too much work.
So it does require adoption, or we are asking for adoption.
Make a motion to approve happy hydrants.
I will non-sarcastically second.
Director Cotton,
Yes.
Director Zuka.
Yes.
Director Covington.
Yeah.
Vice President Vella,
Yes.
President Wheeler.
And Michael, I just want to say, really, really nice job on the background.
Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it.
I'm glad you got to go see the book and
Yeah,
memorized all the design.
yeah. I mean, looking at the book is nice because I've been looking at these and, but looking at what they look like when they're fresh is actually pretty impressive, a lot of them, so.
Yeah, there was a lot
Maybe
of
we can
creativity that went into that.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
And we'll have to work and think about what kind of information we're gonna put on the webpage, but I do wanna have a nice, I mean, it's such a nice historical thing. So we can tell the story ourselves. Not just the KQED articles and whatnot.
Yeah.
I expect happy hydrant stickers.
Yes, nice to-
Sorry,
Where are these putting?
back to the,
Back to
back to the Jerry Lane hydrant graveyard.
Back in the scrapyard.
They're just gonna stare at you.
They're gonna be, one in the back of the line. Put it in my yard.
Yeah, people do.
Yeah, they do.
If I had a yard, I would.
Okay, moving on. Item 8D, received Boston.
Boston, that's me. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so the Bosco was last week, July 17th. And it was a special meeting. Because we had to change the location again. We haven't been in our location now for about 4 or 5 months. And we met at the Chitkooti room in Millbrae. So most of the agenda was reports, basically several reports that were brought to the board. Made a presentation by SFPUC and the finance director. And then we had the water management representative from Mountain View who gave us the presentation. These are usually some of my favorite items when we have a water manager report to us. And then we had the drought report and the tier 2 adoption process and the CEO manager's performance evaluation.
Was it Lou?
The what?
Okay.
Yeah,
You said
Elizabeth
he,
Blake.
and I'm like, wait a second, the water mountain manager from Mountain View is not a he. It's a she.
Oh, it's.
Was it Elizabeth?
Yeah, yeah, did I say he?
You said he, and I'm like, wait, who is?
No, she was definitely a she.
Yeah, I know Elizabeth, I used to work with her at EKI,
Yeah, and I went to grad school with her.
and you went to grad school.
So,
Yeah.
I've known her a
Wait
long
a
time.
second.
Elizabeth
Yeah,
Bagel, yeah.
There's something wrong with that.
Very,
And you were,
very,
she was Elizabeth Sanger.
very
Yeah.
smart, person, yeah, very nice. So the SFPUC report, we had this, the main report was from Erin Urbinova with green hair. She's the SFPUC Financial Planning Director, very smart young lady, but the first indication was like, it actually has green hair. Anyway,
It's got other
Um,
colors.
but she's smart, so, because, and she knows the numbers. So she presented the efforts and basically what she talked about how they project the budget and they come up with the rates, you know. And what they come, and she fielded a lot of questions on that, you know, because we never know what the rates are going to be, so. And then we had the water management rep, who was Elizabeth Flagel. And she talked about the water use by customer in Mountain View, and water use by source, the impact of minimum purchase for them, because this is a big thing for them. And the alternative supply projects and the new recycled water tanks that they have, or they put in service. Strategy 2050, we still talk about that every meeting on 2050, the way the water is going to be, you know, or not. And then the drought report that we talked about before. And then the CEO gave us a report on how many people have already adopted the tier 2, and that was 11. But another 11 jurisdictions have that on their schedule, which would leave about 3 or 4 other jurisdictions that have not scheduled it yet. We have already adopted it at the last meeting, so we're good. And then we had a long discussion on the CEO evaluation. There's gonna be the first evaluation of the new CEO. because he is new and there are many directors who are new, there's going to be probably a lot of the comments are gonna be that the behavior has not been observed because he's too new. But hopefully, you know, we'll be able to get through this one as well. So that was basically. And then the next meeting is gonna be on September 18th. And on the tier 2, I don't know if you wanna say anything else on that, except that
Yeah,
most jurisdictions are approving it, you know.
yeah, everything seems to be going in the right direction. I reached out to Danielle actually this week and asked what the current count was. So to date, we're up to 11 Bosque agencies, which represents 30% of SFPUC purchases have approved the amendments. Cal Water, which is the big guy, is scheduled for next week there to go to their board. So,
They're scheduled to approve as well.
yeah, so if they approve next week, which they will, that'll represent 53% of SFPUC purchases, will get us over that nice
Yeah.
50% mark,
Yeah.
so, but like I said, you know, there's a whole schedule. Pretty much every agency has it calendared to when it's gonna go to their council or board. So, and 7 more over the next 1 month, so I think it's all rolling.
Good luck getting it moving along.
Well. Most of us are headed in the right direction. Um,
And that's not me, obviously.
No,
that's
I know.
Paul's, all
it's
of
the
Paul's.
challenge.
Yeah,
But other than that, there's not anything else too new going on with Bosque right now.
Mainly reports this time, you know.
There
The
is-
agenda was not.
There was something that just came out today, or the last couple days about the Bay Delta plan and healthy river, agreements, or healthy rivers and landscapes, how they rebranded it.
Yeah.
For the Sacramento River, not for Tuolumne. But we kind of follow that because we expect Tuolumne's gonna follow the pattern that, you know, Sacramento's following. So, I haven't gotten an analysis of that yet. Everyone's just trying to, you know, understand what the update is, so we'll get more information.
That was was done in closed session, and I tell you, there was not much newer things came up. That's it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Go on to the next report. Water system conditions, regional water system.
Yes. So, Lorena isn't here, you know, we put together the full report before he left on vacation. Of the full, you know, maps and data. You know, long story short is, the system's still full. So for our perspective, we're in a really great position, it's, you know, not the case across the country. But if you have kind of any questions, or you wanna highlight anything that you see in the report, please do, otherwise, but the detail Lorena does, the storytelling he does.
In the middle of summer with no rain, it's not like there's really that much change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at the entire country, I mean, on the east
Oh,
coast,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Our son lives in New Jersey, and he goes like, geez, just rain like won't stop.
Yeah, like a cousin, they just sent me pictures of their street, the river in front of their house.
Yeah.
So I said,
Yeah, I
haven't
asked
seen
them-
the rain since maybe.
I asked him how his house is doing, he said, well, we're on a hill, so we just watch the water go by. On a hill, so they're fine. Well, you wanna go to higher grounds,
I'm on a hill and I have like springs pop up
Oh,
when it rains.
underground springs,
Yeah, like my driveway and,
really?
yeah, and there's kind of a funny kind of soft spot in my yard that will start cooling. But it's just all
You better check
flowing
the
out of this.
foundation.
Oh, yeah, there's a story there, yes.
Yeah.
We did a little tripping,
Yeah.
and half my house was under mine, it's fine.
Okay. Moving on to section 1, we have management reports. Financial.
Yep, all right, so
June 30th fiscal year end. We haven't done any of the year-end adjustments yet, but it's a good point to see where our estimates lie, or where our budget lined up with our estimates. So you'll see the water commodity charges were at 97.8% of our actual, or of our amended budget. However, fixed system charges was 108, so we met our budget, but just there was an allocation. I think we just amended the water commodity charges and not adjusted for the fixed system charges. So overall, though, we got to about 100%, 100.1% of our operating revenue. So our budget estimates across all our operating revenue were pretty spot on. Pretty good. You know, we were within a $10,000 variance. So total revenue was 103.2% of our budget. So about $600,000 more, and that primarily relates to non-operating plus our investment earnings from US Treasuries. Some of that does take into account, there's about 250,000 that's related to unrealized gains and losses. In this case, at this point, it was gains that we'll see. So it's like just an accounting adjustment that we have to do every month. But you'll see that it helped our budget numbers right there. Salaries and wages, payrolls and taxes. We're again within 12,780 of our projected budget figures. So pretty spot on there. And that included any like payoffs and all those items that we hadn't accounted for when we did the budget adjustment. Purchase water is about $6.6 million for the year, which, you know, we're actually just shy of about $47,000 by the end of the year. So those are the significant budget items that I wanted to bring up. Oh, the cost of issuance also for refund, or not refunding, for bond issuance, you know, came out to about $460,000 for the year, which we had not budgeted for. Debt service was made on June 1st for both issuances. And that was interest only for the month of June. Back in December, we paid the principal on the 2015 COPs. So we got to within $68,000 for our debt service of that. And the reason that we've got that overage is because we were estimating how much the interest was going to cost when we're doing the budget adjustment versus how much it really came out to. So overall, you know, our expenditures came a little under what we had originally budgeted. So we came up to 97.1% of our budgeted figures, with a net surplus of $3.2 million, approximately $3.2 million. So you'll see our debt service ratio, of course, was fairly high as compared to our budget. And so we met that debt service ratio for the current year. Capital projects, or capital expenditures, totaled $1.8 million. Of that, $302,000 was related to capital assets. $1 million was for PAYGO, in particular for DL&O and the Old County road improvements that were incurred towards the beginning of the year. We are starting to see expenditures come in for the debt financing transactions, particularly for the Folger and Dairy Lane. This is for the architectural design services. So we're seeing a lot more of those expenditures come in as well. And then finally, on that last page, you'll see the reserve analysis. We put together the listing of what the maturities are going to be for both. You know, we've always had that for Zions, and you'll see that there's one that's expiring or that's maturing next week on the 31st. Kat is already engaged with Wolf Hansen to get quotes next week to restructure our ladder for that particular investment. And then you'll see down below what the maturities are for the BNY project account. And that lines up with what our cash flow analysis was for our capital projects. So they basically almost dollar for dollar, we're making sure that we've got enough reserve or enough, thank you, cash equivalents to meet our payment obligations as they come due for the capital projects that are going to be financed through the debt service or through the debt issuance. So overall, and then finally the reserve analysis. forgot that went to a subsequent page now that we've got all those investments on the top. So working capital is still 100% funded. You'll see that capital reserve dropped just a little bit, based on the capital projects. We've added the line for project funding for the reserve piece, so that you'll see $33.1 million there. And then a reserve for debt service. So we'll start making payments on a monthly basis to BNY for debt service for both issuances. And the goal is to have that $1.8 million fully funded by November to make sure that we can meet our debt service requirements by the end of November. So, because it's due on December 1st.
Any concerns about that, James?
None, no.
Any guesstimate on what you think our yields are gonna get on these rollovers? That are
Do you
expiring?
remember how it worked out? It was like just right at arbitrage.
Yeah, so, well, for the rollovers, the ones that we were talking yesterday was for the 4 million. The quotes or Rob was price pointing a couple of them just ad hoc during our meeting, and he saw a couple for like 4.28, I think was one of them. There was a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 9-month that we were looking at, and it was like 405, 42, and a 438 is what we're looking at, depending on which scenario we're taking.
And that's it, talking about the treasury ladder that we've had for a while now.
Yes.
Our reserves.
Yeah.
And then this analysis here that you have in front of you, Chuck, is for the COP funds that are
Yeah.
invested in treasuries as well.
Yeah, and the overall yield for the project funds are gonna be just a hair below arbitrage yield, so we won't have any penalty go to the IRS. So,
Like, yeah, I mean, these are 0.25. We're gonna see some nice adjustments on that, so
Yeah.
I was just curious when we flush those.
There was a
Yeah.
very detailed analysis, and
Yeah.
this is kind of, I won't call it summarized, but there was like even more just individual securities when they laid it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to
Get the sweet spot.
Yeah, higher yield. I just had another question on the previous page. This one line item, the miscellaneous not operating, that big fat percentage there.
yeah, so that one is nearly impossible to budget for. If I remember, we had two insurance reimbursements, if I remember right. Let me make sure I've got the right account number here, just a second.
Yeah, we had about $67,000 insurance reimbursement that was related to Dairy Lane. They were basically holding on to the last
Yeah.
bit for Dairy Lane until we finished the rehab. But the person administering it was retiring, so she said, "Can we just give you the money now?" And we said, "Yes, please do." So they closed that out, so that's not hanging out there like it was. So that was
Yeah.
67,000.
Mhm.
There was, yeah, I'm trying to remember there was an amount that just came in this past month, and I'm looking for that right now. It's 245 is what we received, this current
I
month.
actually got 232 on here.
So 232 is the net. I was just looking at this one. Because there was a debit, there was a reclassification of 16. So yeah, 229 is actually what we received during the month. So. Sorry, I was just looking at the one column there.
Any other questions? District engineer.
Great. So there's quite a few projects in the packet that you have in front of you. Not a lot, to kind of expand upon. So if the board has any questions on the ones that I don't talk about tonight, feel free to ask. But the ones I do want to highlight are the Harbor Boulevard Water Main Project. So at the end of each project, this is common for all of our projects, we send out a customer satisfaction survey of how the contractor and we did as when we're replacing water main or doing any type of tank projects. And we sent these to all nearby residents that are kind of immediately affected by our operations when we're out there. And we sent out surveys to 30 customers. We received 2, which is on the low side. And normally we'll probably receive in the realm of, 15 to 20%. And we think that because of where this project was located,
Correct.
primarily a
Commercial.
lot of
program.
businesses and commercial, we probably tend to get less response from those versus when we're up in the hills, like for, the current project that's out there with DLNO, we would tend to get a few more, not an exuberant amount more, but just more of a response than what this yielded. But good news is, of the couple that we did receive, they were favorable. So.
Statistically non-significant,
So,
favorable result.
yeah. However, they
100%
may,
favorable.
100%.
this is what we've received to date, so it's not to say that we won't or possibly receive additional down the
Do
line.
these only go to residents or do they go to businesses as well?
Anybody
this
that's
case,
along,
businesses.
Okay,
that's
all-
fronts
that's all
our
there is
project.
I was gonna say, I don't know any residents that are there.
Yeah, so sorry if
I think it
I,
was a block over or something, but I'm surprised. No one
But still, you
responded.
could still get negative, because of the interruption.
Yeah,
of the
yeah, it's
business and all
traffic,
that.
dirty.
I mean, it is interesting because there were some businesses, a couple of them, that had some problems with the projects, that complained, that asked for, extra provisions, et cetera. And what's interesting to me, and yeah, sometimes elapsed, but you kind of expect they would be like the first ones to send in a grumpy survey, and they haven't, so, we'll see. If we take
Check the
comment later.
handwriting and make sure it's in the name and compare it to his handwriting.
so,
Yeah, everything's in a purple pen.
We used a different film.
Oh, okay.
yeah, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, I misspoke and said resident versus
That's all
customer. So, any questions on Harbor at this point? Okay, great. Moving on to the Tacoma, Lincoln, Newlands, and Oakville water main improvements. So, at least for the new directors, Director Cotton and Director Covington, this is your first project that you're seeing as the district, we're finally getting out and doing some water main replacements. Every project begins with an investigative portion, which is what this is basically explaining, where contractor goes out and we pothole, which is the operation to dig a small hole in the ground, essentially through the asphalt, to locate existing utilities that may or may not conflict with our new water main that we're gonna be putting into place. So every project that we put out, we've got an allotment or require the contractor to pothole beforehand to avoid as many unknowns as possible as they're trenching, because unknowns result in unfortunate change orders and extra cost of the project. So narrow street up there, very congested. And so they completed their investigation, and then at the same time, we discovered that a portion of the water main, as you're coming down, I guess downhill from the project limits, there is, I'm not sure how many exact residents, but we had water services assumed to be connected to the water main that's being replaced. There's 2 parallel water mains. One is for zone 4, which serves the residents pretty much around the area of Tacoma tank. There's not enough pressure, so we have the pneumatic tank to create pressure for them. That's one zone, and then the other zone is zone 3, which is primarily a transmission main up at that point, because there just isn't enough pressure to serve residents off of the Tacoma tanks, because they're too close to the tanks. It was discovered that water services that were assumed to be connected to zone 3, which would be low pressure, were actually connected to zone 4. And so what's going to effectively happen is those bid items will essentially be removed from the project because they're no longer needed. So not too much has happened since the start of construction. They've done their potholing. They're also they're doing some abandonments to promote the installation of the new line. And things are gonna start accelerating here in the next month. And so we anticipate the next month for there to be kind of a board report that's typical, which the contractor submits an invoice, and then we do a little report with some pictures and explain the work progress to date along with their invoice. Which you'll see at the next board meeting. And then we've also started conversations with the subcontractor, the contractor that's gonna be doing the relining of a water main that's going cross-country, which serves, is it Oak Knoll is a very high point in the district, and right now it's a single feed. It used to be 2 water mains would feed the area up at the top where there's low pressure. And a while ago, the cross-country was abandoned. And we did hydraulic modeling and determined that it's beneficial to have that water main reinstated. And so the contractor will be relining that with a new structural liner in place to bring back redundancy and improve fire flows up to that peak in the zone. It's kind of an isolated spot within the
We're
zone.
going away from cross-country.
We do, yes, that is the intention, and we strive for every effort to make that happen. Unfortunately, with this area, this actually provides an overwhelming benefit to the homes up near the top of that ridge.
And we do
And
have
so,
existing easement, I'm assuming, right?
Is that mostly for safety and fire?
Yep.
Okay.
yep, it also includes water flow and water quality, because now we're getting water from 2 different directions. So there's some added benefits to that as well, so.
You don't have there are no sidewalks there, right? And
I
there's
don't honestly know off the top of
no
my head.
sidewalks at all areas.
Oh,
On
within the
Lincoln?
cross country or?
No,
just
no,
in
no,
the
no,
project in
cross-country,
general?
obviously, no. But on Lincoln, Newlands and Oak Knoll,
No, I
There's
don't
hardly
believe
any
so.
sidewalks in
Yeah.
that whole area.
If I can,
Yeah.
sorry, I should have probably given you a heads up. I didn't think about it till just now. So I'm putting you on the spot. But we talked about when the construction really gets going, having an opportunity for board members to come out and do a visit. So
Absolutely. Any board member, anytime during the project you're more than welcome to come out to the site. We'll provide PPE, so personal protective equipment, for you. You just have to bring appropriate footwear, but we'll provide vests and hard hats. And so if it's something that you would like to come and visit the site, maybe when construction starts picking up as far as when they start installing the actual water main, just let us know and
do you have a feel for the schedule roughly a month
Yeah.
out when that'll? wrap
actually
it up?
within a couple weeks, I think
Yeah.
they're starting main line.
Yeah, that's
Is
what
that
it sounds, that's
fair?
where they're, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've been hearing from Fairview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so if it's something you're interested in doing, we'd ask that probably coordinate through Kat.
Yeah.
And then she'll let us know, and then we can make sure that we've got the necessary equipment.
Yeah, so about
just for you to sit on
mid-August.
site.
So let me know if you're interested in what works for your schedule and we'll find a time where they're doing something interesting to see.
Great.
Come out and tour a wastewater plant if you want.
Yes.
That's all I was gonna report on. If you'd like your information on any other, projects in here, I can certainly state. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know
Administrative
what?
service.
On the 12-5 detention, is that detention or retention?
Detention.
Detention?
Really fun.
Yeah.
Whatever.
the catch
The
basin
basic.
is what.
The basic
The
one.
basin is-
What's going on with that? Where are we with that? Where are
So
we
it
anyway?
is well, the urgency on the side of the city has diminished because they need funding. So they don't know when the project's gonna happen. The conversation is complicated by things happening internally at the city right now. There's some interesting changes coming. You might have noticed they began advertising for a new public works director.
Again?
So, it is at the forefront of our mind and we keep pushing it, but there's some challenges. So, and the conversation really is it's your project. Who is paying for the relocation of our water main?
Your project, your money,
Your project,
They don't have, that's the problem.
so,
but then the project won't happen.
No, they're trying to get grant
It's like going to
funding.
dinner, you know,
And-
and don't have the money, you don't eat.
Yes. So I think they've got, everybody's got issues with grant funding these days and that's not going to, I think here, it's gonna be unfortunate.
Yeah,
'cause
but
they're
I
doing
mean,
all that
if you're
work.
gonna start, you know, wouldn't you think that you should have the money first before you make a bid on a house?
I don't
Come
really
on,
think so.
so, all right.
well, I think some money that they thought they had was federal grant
Yeah.
money that disappeared as well, so that,
They were counting.
didn't
on, I
necessarily see
think,
that coming.
some infrastructure money that evaporated.
All right, I'm sorry I asked.
It is something we very much want to resolve,
Was
but
clear.
it takes more than just us. to resolve.
Administrative services.
Okay, so since last board meeting, we have our new administrative assistant who has started, and she is shadowing Ron up into his retirement. He will be retiring as of August 1st. You are all going to be invited to his retirement party, which is on the 30th. So that'll be Wednesday over at Dairy Lane. So there'll be a lunch
August 30th?
July.
Yes, July 30th.
Next
Yeah.
week.
next
Alright,
week.
I did send a calendar invite this evening, let me know if you're interested, if you have questions, there'll be very tasty barbecue from potatoes and stuff, so.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
be in a meeting in Milford, but I will try to stop by.
Barbecue's
Great.
I know this is better, but.
Empty there.
Cause you eat, you don't have to pay. You eat. No.
It'd be good to
Anyways,
see Ron off.
sorry, Allison.
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's okay. One thing I'd love to highlight is because it's affecting you guys living in the community is the express bill pay and the implementation of the new auto pay. So with our first bill pay cycle closing, we got to witness that 3,000 customers did not transfer over their auto pay, which resulted in a high volume of calls that came in, which was very overwhelming to staff. But we were fortunate enough that with Express Bill Pay, one of their added features is that they have their own call center, which we were able to filter a lot of our calls to. And then also additionally, what we did was that we waived any late fees to those 3,000 customers, just so that we helped them walk through setting up their new accounts and whatnot. But so far, we are almost completely on board with everybody getting onto the new pay system, so.
Any transition like this, you expect it to be a lot of work, and I have to
Yes.
say, our admin team has been absolutely wonderful dealing with this, dealing with the extra call volumes, I mean, keeping their calm. I could never do customer service like they do, I have to say, the people we have are amazing. You wouldn't necessarily even know that there's something abnormal going on, just because everyone's just, they just handle it, it's just what it is.
Mhm.
And
Good.
great.
Thanks.
No questions? Okay, thank you. Operations report.
I did have the opportunity to ask Brenna if he wanted me to share anything specific, and I know he always talks about the USAs, that's what he mentioned. He said, tell him about the USAs, it shows how much construction is
He
going
did
on.
not say that.
He did. He always talks about the USA. So we had 258 USA locates that we responded to in June. It looks like the annual running average is 263 per month. One thing I will add is that speaking of locates, we've had a lot of, I shouldn't say, I don't know, but we had a lot of new employees over the last couple of years, and a few of these newer employees have been kind of focused on certain areas of maintenance. But because they're focused on certain areas, it's kind of hindered their growth in other, areas and within the district with maintenance. Yeah, so we're focusing, we just started last month. My concern is that it's it slows down production a little bit when you do a lot of cross training. But at the end of it, when, you know, everybody's trained, then it'll make us much more efficient. So July is the first month that we're.
It's an investment, right?
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
so sometimes the
Yeah,
payoff
yeah.
takes a little while, but it's an investment.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So, I mean, the operations team is actually really enjoying it. They're looking forward to it because they're looking forward to the new things that they're gonna learn. And, you know, even though it will slow things down a little bit production wise for probably a couple of cycles, like you said, it's an investment, so overall to make us more efficient. We have three lead operators that oversee three, you know, different responsibilities. So each lead operator is taking on either a maintenance technician or a water system operator, two each per lead operator for the month, and then each month it's an ongoing rotation. So I like numbers. I like to get things done, but the benefits will definitely be there at the end. So we're focusing on that, and yeah, it'll be a positive change.
You get pushback?
You know, there's
People
been,
that don't wanna rotate?
and not necessarily. There's been, you know, there was an instance where we had some work that needed to be done, and there's one particular employee who was very good at concrete work. For example, he was in the rotation working on meters, but we had to pull him out of that to help teach, you know, the other employees that were focused on that type of work, more concrete stuff. And, you know, he was kind of like, well, why am I being pulled off of meters? I'm supposed to be, you know, learning meters. And little things like that, you know, I mean, he was fine with it, but ultimately they're excited about it. There's not really pushback on it. I think people enjoy variety more than anything than being stuck doing the same old thing. So I think they're all actually pretty happy about it.
That's one of the real benefits of working at, you know, small district like ours, as opposed to like a big SFPC or Cal Water, where you're just doing one thing all the time, is being able to train. So
But that happens in
part of the recruiting.
any organization. I mean, I lived through it my entire career. I was hired to fight fires. They don't like doing medical, and they don't like doing rescues, and I don't. You do everything.
Yeah.
Hazmat, yes, you do, everything.
But, you know, in our hiring of the new folks, and that was something that we really highlighted as a benefit to working here, something that we talked about in the interviews. So our goal was to get folks who wanted, you know, to do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And if you want to do just one thing, well, there's other agencies.
It'll be a major benefit for sure.
Yeah.
But that was all I wanted to add. If there was any other questions about the report.
Yeah, and even it gives you another tool too, where you know that you can utilize people that, you know, when somebody is sick or somebody is injured or whatever, and you can pull somebody that has been at least trained, you know, like.
Exactly, because there have been oftentimes where, I won't say oftentimes, but it definitely comes up where we have some project or something, and there's an employee who's on vacation or just not there, and that's the employee we want there because he's the best at it. And it's like, okay, well, we can push that off till maybe Thursday when he returns.
There's only so much you can. put
Yeah,
in.
so, you know, just being able to have the flexibility of just what we gotta get done, everybody can do it, so let's go get it done, type thing. That's what we're shooting for. So.
It may not get done as good as the guy who
Right.
knows how to do it, but it gets done, you know. So,
Yeah, and you learn about people's strengths and weaknesses and where they, you know, where we should focus, so that's a good thing.
Very good.
Make sure everybody can be utility workers.
Yeah.
General manager.
All right. So Elson already mentioned Ron's retirement. Just want to make sure you see that opportunity. And then prior to the meeting, you met Sarah Scheit, who will be joining us as operations manager in August. So we're really excited about that. I also have in here, so there was a grand jury report that just came out That was kind of basically a follow-up to a previous report done in 2022. The 2022 one, we were one of the agencies surveyed and named, we had to give a response. This one, we do not have to give a response, we weren't named. But it, it focused on a handful of, 5 water agencies and basically what progress they had made in response to the prior grand jury report in preparing for emergencies like big earthquakes. The biggest focus though was on San Mateo County itself, their Office of Emergency Management. 2022 grand jury report recommended quite a few things that they should be doing a much more proactive job and following EPA guidance in how they help water agencies plan for emergencies, engage water agencies in that planning. The new report found that they did do some work with respect to the recommendations on sharing contact information and coordinating some public messaging, but that the Office of Emergency Management had not implemented a water desk, had not conducted emergency water interruption exercises, had not developed a coordination plan for emergency water interruption, and to date, emergency management has conducted emergency preparedness exercises, but none have addressed a catastrophic water supply interruption. So, I mean, this is the grand jury really calling out the county itself to do a better job of planning with water agencies. So, grand jury report aside, this is something that we've been focused on and we're following and wanting to see this greater coordination. Individual agencies, of course, do their own coordination. Cal Water's been wonderful in the way they do their outreach and invite us to it. But we have yet another tool to kind of point, county, hello. Let's engage. We're happy to engage. We want to engage. We are not the experts in emergency planning. We're experts in the water system, but not emergency planning. So we'll be much better prepared if we work together. So. And you have the whole grand jury report I included as an attachment, as well as, there's some news articles that have popped up summarizing it, so. Speaking of engagement, we actually have Supervisor Noelia Corzo scheduled to visit, August 27th. So these often do get rescheduled, we know that, but currently we're planning on the 27th, so, we'll have a similar kind of tour of Dairy Lane and its introduction to us and the good work that we do in the planning and all the value to the community. Next item on here is related to the COPs. So as we've talked about, how you've seen before, Dan Bergman would usually give a report twice a year on the COPs. He has the annual reports required as part of the COP requirements themselves, so additional reporting to the board. The 2016 COPs is reported, those are done. And so we haven't, as of, through June, we hadn't had any activity yet on the 2025 COPs. We have had one requisition, and we're putting together another requisition for about $500,000 to reimburse ourselves for design and architectural engineering costs associated with our capital projects. Turns out it's a lot of accounting to get through. Put that requisition together, so it's coming very soon. So because we didn't have any activity yet through the period, Dan suggested, let's hold off and do the first report in January. So rather than that, I give the summary here and then we're gonna go from Dan in January. So next item is related to our U.S. Treasury ladder. So as you know, we have quite a lot of reserves in the ladder, still 16.2 million. And so Wolf Hansen prepares a quarterly earnings report. And so from April through June, we did very well. We had book earnings of almost $129,000, which is equivalent to an annualized book yield of 4.59%. Well outperforming LAIF. So if we had that same amount of money in LAIF, it would have made about 4.27%. And so Wolf Hansen is very proud and shared with us, not only we're outperforming the LAIF, but we are outperforming every other agency that they've done this kind of portfolio for. So we just kind of keep getting lucky and hitting
Because
the
of
market at the
timing,
right
yeah.
timing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can be proud of that. Definitely the right decision. I went to the CSDA GM Leadership Summit. That was a wonderful event as usual. It was really focused on, leadership and governance issues, kind of that span all special districts. And I just wanted to highlight that our audit, we've started working and sending information to the auditor. And so we have the schedule laid out for that. And I think everything else we've kind of covered, or there's a less significant updates. Let me know if you have questions for anything else in here.
The bike tour may or may not happen this year. What do you think?
I'm gonna make it happen. It's gonna happen. I just don't know when, but it'll happen.
Yeah, well,
Maybe you just need to get Kathy to do it.
Hmm.
She committed.
August may be a little bit tough for everybody, but
Yeah, I have a vacation in there too.
yeah,
But
I think
it's
we
September.
push it like through, like the beginning of October, at least November.
Yeah,
That way it will be far enough for everybody to have their calendar a little bit clearer.
It might be useful if they're getting a new public works director.
yeah, I don't think we should be planning
No.
around that. It'll be
Yeah.
what it'll
You never
be.
That could
know.
take
It'll be what it'll be.
Yeah,
Exactly.
pretty quick hire.
So, but
Public works
yeah, we're not
director
gonna let it
comes,
drop.
they go.
We understand that they have some issues but.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The meeting with Noelia Fordos. Are the county, are they interested in helping us with some funding? Maybe not
That-
for the county or,
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, so if you recall, we've had Supervisor David Canapa as well as and Tappan came. And then actually, I also had a meeting with Supervisor Gauthier, and she's interested, not scheduled yet, but she's interested in all the farming. So, it's building relationships with supervisors, letting them really understand what we do and our needs. And then, hopefully, they can be supportive with funding, but it's a process, so that they really understand us. So.
laying the groundwork.
Okay.
Okay, director's report. Starting on my left. Do you have anything? No report.
Since the last time I saw you all, I'm no longer with the city of Palo Alto. I am now authority manager for Silicon Valley Clean Water. So a little bit closer, different side of the water spectrum. And last time I told Kat that I really messed up my calendar. And the board meeting happened to coincide with my going away party in Palo Alto last board meeting, so. Sorry, I couldn't make it, but it would have been bad to no show for my own going away. So, that's it.
How's it going?
Thank you.
How's it going?
Week 3, yeah, it's going really well so far.
You haven't easy old got you yet.
Not yet, had my first commission meeting, kind of a shitty thing to have to report to a bunch of electeds like us, but whatever.
Keep the honeymoon going as long as.
Congratulations. Something on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah, I have a new job too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it's not related to water. But I now work closer, I'm working for a school bus transportation company called Zoom Services. It's right over here in Redwood City. I checked with Kat to see if it's in our water district.
Nothing for me. I did see there's a meeting coming up next week, the one in the city for SMPUC meeting. He sent me I'm sorry, they sent an email, not you. So I'll attend that, but nothing, I'm gonna go to the special district conference end of the month in Monterey. And, hopefully learn some-
What's with this PUC?
they're,
Is it just a regular commission meeting or is it something?
it's like their tour, understand infrastructure,
Well, that's
Oh,
right, they
Tour
were,
of the Hasheshi?
no, it's not, that's what I thought it was at first, but no, it's at the office on Golden Gate.
Oh,
and it's
okay, all right, all
it's
right.
actually a 2-day thing.
Yeah, the first day is like a cocktail or so, I'm not gonna go all the way up,
Right.
just drink, not that I wouldn't, but, to go and turn around and come home, so the next day is when the event.
But
it's
they
a-
were, they had mentioned that it was dealing with their reliability and their earthquake
Right,
water system that, you know, is designed to pump seawater up into the city if they need during a fire type of thing.
Mhm.
That's interesting. How do you get an invitation to that?
I'll
I
forward
got it as an
Yeah.
email.
yeah,
Okay, I don't think I saw that.
yeah, they should read some of these books over here, because that was one of the very problems they had when the city burned down for like
Right.
every other year forever, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Anxious to, hear what they. what they have. Nothing else?
Yours? You have anything?
So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got the oath of office for Bosco. And they told us that didn't count,
Mhm.
so I had to redo it again. And, so then they told us the only people that can administer that oath of office for Bosco would be city clerk, county supervisor, and somebody else. And so I figured I'll take advantage of the county supervisor, so I called Kat to put me in touch with President Canipa's office. And so last week, he administered the oath of office for me. And over there, and I got to see their new building too.
Oh,
And he gave me a tour. I've known Dave for several years. And his wife and I sit on a board in San Francisco, so I've known his wife and him and the kid and children, all that. So then he gave me a tour of the new building, he is so proud of. He said, "This is the greenest building in the world," you know. So,
Quite a few.
and his staff tells me, "You know what, Louis? The first thing he's going to tell you, I said, greenest building in the world." And I said, I love it. That's exactly what he said, right on cue. I'm like, all right. So, yeah, so that's what,
Sounds good.
so now I'm official.
And the only thing I have, we had our agenda meeting, that's about it. Yeah.
Oh, I had that one
It's
too.
slow this week, this month, rather. So,
We're gonna have the HIA for a couple of months.
yeah. So,
right.
moving on. Item 10, communications, do we have any communications? Before we go to closed session, we're going to adjourn the meeting this evening in honor and memory of Ryan Gomes, who passed away on July 12th. Ryan was a valued member of our team for 4 years, and his contributions and presence will be missed by all at the district. Superintendent Michael Anderson will share a few words on behalf of the staff about Ryan.
Thank you. As mentioned, Ryan was part of our team for 4 years, and during that time, he brought a unique presence to the workplace. He had a good sense of humor and connected with many of his coworkers on a personal level. While every employee brings different strengths, Ryan will be remembered for the relationships he built and the moments of lightheartedness he brought to our team. His passing is a reminder of the human connections we form at work, and he will be missed by those who knew him. One thing I appreciated about Ryan was that he always had a positive attitude. There were days that felt long and difficult, but Ryan had a way of lightening the mood just by being himself. He was comfortable striking up conversations and had a natural ability to relate to people. I think that's what many of us will carry with us, the way he could break the ice or make a moment a little easier with just a few words. We may not always remember every project someone worked on or every task they completed, but we do remember how they made us feel. And Ryan had a way of making people feel like they mattered. His passing has left a quiet space in our team, and we send our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones. On behalf of the district, and especially his co-workers in the field, we honor Ryan's memory and the time we shared with him.
Thank you. Very good. So, that way you don't have to wait until after the closed session to adjourn.
But we will, we'll share the recording with his family as well
Mhm.
Yes.
and staff, but.
Will be adjourning in his memory, correct?
Yeah.
Will be in the minutes for reflect.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very appropriate.
So we can go on to closed session. 5-minute break.
Yep.
So we have come back into open session at 9:26 PM and there's nothing to report from closed session.
Matt, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you
In-
all. In memory of Ryan Bowman.
Thank you.